Hi everybody, this video is going to be about the 1950s technological advancements that occurred. This is just going to be a voiceover type of video. I'm not going to be in it, so yeah, bummer for you guys, you don't get to see my beautiful face. There are some sections that are going to be covered in kind of overlay in other videos, so I'm not going to really talk about entertainment in this video because advancements in terms of that are going to be discussed in the entertainment video, but pretty much everything else we're going to talk about, so stay tuned for all of that. The end of the Second World War led to a rise in affluence and consumerism, and with that rise came the need for new innovations to help improve the American quality of life and keep up with the increased demand for goods. Thus, new advances in household appliances, manufacturing, automobiles, food and textile production, medicine, and other areas were abundant during this time. The improvements achieved during the 1950s created an unprecedented standard of living for Americans and set the bar high for coming generations. Let's jump right into it by discussing advancements in household appliances. These were typically meant to relieve the burden of female homemakers who spent an average of 3 hours a day cooking meals alone. In addition to cooking, they also had to clean, run errands, and entertain people that came over to the house. So the freedom that was provided by these helpful household appliances also allowed some women to actually have part-time jobs. Specifically, gas ovens allowed women to cut down on cooking time and effort. Frost-free refrigerators, that's a nice little onomatopoeia for you, that's not the right word, whatever, saved time and effort, as now women did not have to defrost and clean them as they normally would. And finally, affordable dishwashers saved time and effort on the washing up, so that women did not have to spend as much time after each meal cleaning up after everybody. And in terms of food prep, Saran wrap kept food fresh for longer, so you were also saving effort by having the ability to just serve up leftovers from yesterday rather than having to cook up a fresh meal every single day. In the 1950s, many technological advancements were also made in the field of medicine. However, behind these advancements was the mistreatment of mentally ill patients. Pressures from the ideas of conformity and homogeneous culture led to a rise in the prescription of antidepressants and other medications. One of the defining procedures during this time also was the lobotomy. The lobotomy was essentially when an ice pick or another instrument would be inserted through the eye socket and, for lack of a better term, swirled around in the brain, which would sever vital connections and damage the lobes. When this occurred, people would often lose vital functions, speech functions, physical abilities. It was often done to people who were mentally ill or, in unfortunate circumstances, people who simply did not want to conform to the ideas that society wanted them to conform to. But not all of the advancements that were made were negative. There was also the heart-lung machine that was developed, and it was used for cardiopulmonary bypasses. The polio vaccine is probably the one of the more famous advancements. We are lucky because nowadays we do not have to worry about polio, as that vaccine was invented in 1955. There was also an implantable artificial pacemaker, which is obviously a very positive advancement that we still use today. And finally, oral contraceptives, or the pill, was invented in 1950. However, the government did not approve them for public use until the 1960s. In 1956, Eisenhower passed the Interstate Highway Act, which authorized the construction of 42,000 miles of interstate highways that linked all the nation's major cities. Although this was created as a way to evacuate in a case of a nuclear crisis, it caused the rapid growth of the auto industry and the decrease of reliance on public transportation. Increased use of mass production led to the elimination of small-time automakers, and competition between companies was heightened along with the increase in productivity and profits. The invention of the V8 engine was very influential, as it laid the foundation for the muscle car era. By 1960, 1 in 6 people were in some way employed by the auto industry, and the 50s were the pinnacle of automobile innovation. The car industry became the largest industrial segment in the U.S. and helped boost the U.S. to become an economic superpower. Convenience was most important in terms of food and textile production, and this was apparent in the 1950s. Pre-sliced cheese and frozen dinners, like Swanson's TV dinners, saved money and time on produce for most American families. Frozen produce also became very common, as it lasted longer and was easy to prepare. Textile advancements mainly concerned chemical developments that created new synthetic fabrics like nylon, acrylic, polyester, spandex, and other machine-washable fabrics. All of these were synthetically created fibers that, due to their ability to be washed and worn easily, revolutionized the fashion industry and further promoted the main goal of convenience for the everyday person. Clothing manufacturing boomed now that these cheap, durable fabrics were available, and mass production of clothes increased. Tailor-made or handmade clothing was slowly being phased out, despite the popularity of housewives using dress catalogs and patterns to create their own garments. So, to finish up this real boring video with some fun stuff, let's talk about some other funky inventions that were created in the 1950s. These inventions were not necessarily incredibly important to historical developments, but just thought it would be, fun to include them because some of them are pretty cool. First of all, barcodes were actually invented in 1952. That is a prime example of consumerism and convenience. It was now way easier to check out at the grocery store or, whatever shop you're going to. Now you didn't have to type anything in. You just scan the little code and you can buy your dress or your canned, pineapple or whatever you want to get. Hula hoops were invented in 1958. That is just an example of the toy industry was definitely booming at in the 50s at that time. Solar cells, which were known as solar batteries at the time, were invented in 1954. That is just a prime example of how solar power was being considered even back in the 50s. Velcro was invented in 1957. Again, just a prime example of convenience and how important it was at that time. And finally, we have the hydrogen bomb. That was probably, the most fun invention, just kind of like, wacky, like, oh, are we going to blow up China? I don't know. We don't know. So, yeah, that one was pretty cool. If you want, that is actually a perfect segue. If you want to know more about the hydrogen bomb, go check out our politics video because there is definitely a lot of information about that. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this video was the bomb, and I will see you later. Goodbye.